Oh man, I love this song. Every time I hear it, I can remember where I was and who I was with. It reminds me of the time. Does this sound familiar? Music is like a scent. It can instantly transport you to another time and place. I ask my guests to dish about their song with the memories that go with it. I'm your host, Tiffany Mason. I have a passion for music and a curiosity about how a song affects someone and why. Turn up your radio and let's explore Memories with a Beat. Hello, Podcast Land. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Memories with a Beat. And today I have Asher Laub with me, and I'm really excited to dive into his song. And I know you guys have seen the title, so it's Wings. And I'm just excited because we've had another guest that had chose a song from Wings. So, Asher, thank you so much for joining me today and getting ready to share memories with me.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm very excited because I know you're a musician, so that always gets my heart going a little bit faster just knowing that you clearly have a love for music.
Oh, I have a passion, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited to dig into it. Do you wanna tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a lifelong violinist, so started very young, in diapers pretty much. Currently an electric violinist, a contemporary composer, producer, and live performer. So, yeah, my life is music. I have a number of irrelevant degrees, but this is what I kind of came back to and loving every bit of it.
Yeah, I love that so much. There's a group that I love to watch, Robbie and Felix in my local area, and one of them plays an electric violin. So that was really exciting for me when I saw that, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah, let's talk about
Oh.
it." And excited to check out some of your music that maybe we can link to in the show notes as well.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, you chose a song from Wings, and Wings is actually a band that Paul McCartney was the front guy for after the Beatles. And you guys may know Wings from other songs. If you remember a previous episode that I did with Peter Passetto, he chose Band on the Run. They also sing silly love songs, Mole of Kintyre and Uncle Albert. I didn't know what some of these songs were until I looked up like the top 10 songs from Wings and I was like, "Oh yes, of course." So, if you guys don't know the songs I'm speaking about, pull them up. You'll probably know them instantaneously as I did. This song, however, came out in 73 and I'm just super excited to dive in and find out how you connected this song, Asher. So, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Not too well prepared for this one, except that I pretty much grew up on this song thinking that it was Guns N' Roses' invention. Cause like I'm like an 80s kind of generation.
Mm.
So Paul McCartney, I mean, he's like my grandpa. So it's not like the 70s. Like I discovered Paul McCartney like, I don't know, when I was in high school. I'm like, wow, this is good stuff. The Beatles and but and I frankly I think his version is quite a bit better than Guns N' Roses, but it was kind of badass. So it was more exciting for a jerk like me and in middle school thinking, oh yeah, this is rough music, Um, but melodically, it's beautiful, it's complicated, and that's kind of what I try to achieve in my own music. So I guess that's something I can relate to. And then there's the message too. But for me, as an instrumentalist, as a composer, specifically in the instrumental realm, it's the lyrics that I think last about, and it's more like the
Oh,
yeah,
really?
it's really like the chord
Okay.
progressions, the melody, the earworm nature of the song that I think about, and that's what I truly love about "Live and Let Die." It happens to work very well with the lyrics, but
Yeah. So I think that what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you appreciate the Wings version so much more because it's a little bit more complex and a little bit more artistic. However, a kid in the 80s, you were really excited about the Guns N' Roses version because it was more gritty and like you were really tough and something else.
yeah, it's like cool. The guy's high on cocaine and he's like drugged up and mosh pitting, at festivals, and it's like it's just more of like a juvenile kind of thing. I mean, I still appreciate the song and the presentation by Guns N' Roses. Definitely, they're showmen, but I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm growing gray hairs and I can appreciate the it's just the subtleties and the genius of Paul McCartney's compositions. But I don't even think ChatGPT could come up with some of that creative. Just absolutely timeless.
Yeah, yeah. I love creativity in the lyrics as well.
I don't think drugs or something that. Paul McCartney would have been referring to in that song.
Mm.
I think that every song was what Guns N' Roses was referring to. Like if you listen to any of them, just by hearing
Yeah.
the guy's voice. But
Well, wasn't it Sex, Love, and Rock and Roll? I mean, that was the
yeah,
'80s, right?
that was pretty
So
much their mantra.
yeah. Well, getting back to Live or Let Die. So you said you discovered the song when you were a child. What age were you, or when do you remember, like, "Oh, I kinda like this song?"
so, well, I remember being at one of my friends' house, one of my best friends, Mark, and every anything he listened to was like gold for me because I really admired him, and it was always kind of cutting edge. And I grew up in this nerdy household,
Mm.
so whatever he did was like, okay, yeah, that's cool stuff. Metallica. He listened to a lot of Guns N' Roses, and yeah, I don't know. He used to play it a lot, and I just thought, wow, this is like musically intriguing, and that's from the vantage point of a classical musician. Like I felt like this is something that's challenging for somebody who's spent like years doing etudes and scales. Like just the whole transition from the chorus to the bridge, the back to the verse is there's completely different, and it's somewhat unpredictable. And just the rhythm is also kind of intriguing and complicated, but also it's what's the word? It's just catchy. It's like it's simple, but it's complex, and that's what I actually aspire to in my own music. So
When you say catchy, do you feel like it's easy to envision yourself, like, playing the drums or air guitar? Like, it's easy to, like, submerge yourself into the song.
very easy. It's easy to sing, easy to remember, and the words
Mhm.
"live" or "live and let die" is badass. Like it just sounds badass, even if you're talking
Yes.
about like going to work 9 to 5. Like even if it's something that isn't badass, just like the words. It's interesting how artists craft words in a way that appeal to like a wide variety of individuals. Like it can be intriguing and interesting and complex to an adult, but it could be like super cool to somebody who's young who wants to live on the edge. And there's a genius you got to really respect in that. And again, I'm gonna hats off to Paul McCartney, not so much Guns N' Roses in that regard.
Well, I think that they're, appealing to all the senses, right? It's like, as a kid, they're appealing to, like, this badass, like, this attitude, right? And I feel like I can't even, like, I just have to be like, "Live and let die." Like, I feel like I can't even say it, right?
Yeah,
I feel bad. Yeah.
die.
I feel like I'm
Yeah,
not doing it justice to be like, "Live and let die." It feels
yeah.
so wrong.
You need a gruff tone to what you're saying,
Yeah.
but when I looked into the lyrics and really thought about, okay, what is it saying? What I understand, first of all, it can be interpreted in many different ways. It seems to be more like a Katy Perry sort of song, in that it's
Mm.
encouraging people to work hard and kind of be the best person that they can be. That's what I understand it to mean. I may be dead wrong. We may get some haters from this interview.
Well, music is very open to interpretation. So it's your interpretation of the song. I mean, if there's anything I have learned from this podcast, is that there are a lot of things that people take away from songs, and definitely not what I take away. There's always something different that people take away. So it's just open to interpretation, I think. Whatever you say is right, because that's what it is for you.
So really, that's why I'm going to hop on my soapbox again. That's why I love instrumental music, and that's why I try
Mm.
to, I get my listeners excited about that, because I don't like to tell people what to think, what to hear. I try to inspire them, I try to encourage them, I try to give them general messages of hope, and that's kind of the theme of what I do. But that's kind of so. It's when you have lyrics, you you're obviously you're a little bit more limited in that you're sharing a story, you're sharing a narrative, you're sharing like a message.
Mhm.
But in this case, Live and Let Die, I originally thought it was the James Bond idea, which is actually in '73. James Bond.
Yep.
This was the James Bond theme, which I
Yep.
didn't realize at the time. Back to like the whole badass approach to the song perspective. That was what I thought as a kid. Like, oh yeah, doing your own thing and like steamrolling over other people, and if they end up in harm's way, too bad for them. That was what I sort of understood the song to mean. But I guess there's this other perspective if you read the lyrics more carefully,
Mhm.
and it's more upbeat, more positive, more hopeful, and it's more or less the meaning behind the James Bond film, at least when it was written for that, isn't just like okay harming other people, but it's like when you work yourself real hard, and you do whatever it takes to win, to get your job done.
Yeah.
And that's honestly how I feel in my own career as an independent musician. It's, not as extreme as 007, but it's a lot of work. You're kind of working for yourself, and you are working for yourself when you're in the gig economy. You got to do whatever it takes um, to rise above and to achieve within reason.
Yeah. I can appreciate that for sure. Um, what are some of the lyrics that stick out to you though? Because you keep saying that, it's the story that the lyrics are telling. So, what are those lyrics that stick out to you exactly that you're referring to?
Um, when you were young and your heart was an open book, I love how they kind of merge the words together so that you don't feel the space or the comma. Um, what does it matter to you when you got a job to do? You got to do it well. You got to give the other fella hell. So I guess that sort of speaks to the James Bond approach to the song. Like, you know, you're in the ring and you got to knock them out,
Okay.
otherwise you're not going to win. I mean, okay, you could also take a more moderate approach to that. Just in business, you always have a competitor, friendly competition. I mean, it's a healthy competition. It doesn't just have to be about like murdering the other person. It's about working really hard and outdoing the other person to maybe make a little more money, or
Yeah.
to achieve, or to just leave a legacy for yourself, or to just do something deeply meaningful for yourself. Could be interpreted in that way, in a more moderate sense.
I have another viewpoint I'm going to throw your way and see what you have for feedback on this.
Sure.
So, in the sense of being an entrepreneur and in the sense of healthy competition and just being an entrepreneur, a subject on its own, what do you think about live and let die as far as like failing forward, right? Like, so you failed. So live, let that die, move on, keep going,
Oh,
right? I love that.
that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. I like that.
For everyone that could not see Asher, he put his hands to a point and then he kissed it and put it in the air like the Italians do, like Magnifico.
Mamma
Yeah.
mia. Very nice. But to your point, I want to say that I'm always lecturing my son whenever he has a hard day, hard
Mm,
time, um, bad grade, difficulty with a girl. I don't know,
yeah.
and I'll say, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So
Yeah.
so you take that approach, and you build yourself up, and you basically become a better person,
Mhm.
because of the your failures, so to
Oh,
speak. Your
yes.
failures are a prerequisite to your achievements,
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
and that's what all the most accomplished people would tell you.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of how you interpret and how you navigate those challenges or those failures.
So you said that you grew up with this song. What like you're in the grocery store or you're at a bar and this song comes on, where does Asher go? Where's the first memory, that you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can remember being on my bike going down the road," or what is it?
Oh, I first I start dancing, but where does my mind go? I mean, typically I'm just like going down my list of groceries, and I got to get home. I got to finish the checkout process here. Might start humming it in my head. I'm not getting inspired by the lyrics at that point, unless it's like, well, you
Mhm.
know, um, I've got I've got a grocery list a mile long that should take me about an hour and a half. I need to get home within 20 minutes, otherwise I'm never going to hear the end of it. So so yeah, I'm going to rise above.
Well, it's saying that, you said you pretty much grew up with it. So I'm wondering if it makes you like you thought about your buddy Mark. Is
Hmm.
there another time where like you're driving down the road or you're at a great party or, what are the other things that you can remember? Oh yeah. Like if you say that you grew up with it, is it just that every time it comes on? I mean, like
Yeah,
what memories come to mind?
yeah. So I definitely, for the first part, even if I'm not seeing anything in my mind's eye, I'm feeling a sense of nostalgia.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah.
those good old feelings from when you were a child, even if it's not associated with like a specific moment or a place that you were in. That's the hormones, the emotions, that the familiarity that emerges. But oh yeah, I remember being like hanging out, playing pool, my friend Mark's basement, and like just playing football out in the front. We would hear, have the music blasting, Being in my brother's room, who I love dearly, 2 years older than me, I always looked up to him. He would play that through his very large stereo system, which today would be like a joke. He had tapes.
Yes.
He put in tapes, and I always wanted, like, I want to hold like a tape subscription, Mom. Oh well, when you start working and you become a lifeguard, and like 4 or 5 years, then you can afford that stuff. So like, I really fond memories of that song in those contexts, and then jamming on the guitar a little bit, even though I was really primarily a violinist.
Did did you
Yeah.
learn guitar first or did you learn, violin first?
Well, I started violin at 2,
Oh
so
gosh.
like guitar came way way later. My mother had a ukulele, UK, like between a guitar and a ukulele, a UK, I guess they call it, 4-string guitar. And yeah, I used to play some Beatles tunes when I was maybe ninth grade or so.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. So playing pool in Mark's house, how old were you then?
so I was probably around 7, 8. Although we grew up together, so we knew each other when we were in like playgroup and age 3, age 4. I don't think I was.
Yeah, and did you move? You guys still friends?
Yeah, I was really grateful. Every time I think about my upbringing, I only moved 2 blocks away, so my entire life up until I was 19, I lived in the same neighborhood, and I knew the same kids, and really a blessed experience that I really cannot take for granted. Just knowing the number of people that I know who moved from
Mhm.
state to state, it's a real gift, and I try to give that to my kids.
Yeah. Are you still friends
Yeah.
with Mark now?
Unfortunately, we kind of just we moved in different directions. We're he's upstate. I'm in Long Island. We're both really busy with our families, so unfortunately, a lot of my
Yeah.
childhood friends we just sort of lost connection,
Yeah.
lost
Did
touch with.
Mark play football with you as well?
Yeah, football. We played soccer.
Did you guys have a team name?
I don't think so. I don't think we went that far.
Okay.
But it was just, I guess, the better. We did like two-hand touch type stuff. Invited all the neighborhood kids over. Good times,
Yeah.
good memories.
Yeah. And then your older brother, did you guys share a room or you guys had separate rooms?
I shared a room with my sister, like when I was in middle school. My two older brothers, they had their own rooms,
Okay.
and that was it. Yeah, can't believe we got
Yeah.
along for the most part,
Yeah.
except when I was teasing her regularly. But other than that,
So you have 2 older brothers then. So
yeah.
then is this the next step up from you? Is this child number 2? Are you child number 3?
So yeah, I was the third. So there's, yeah, two oldest brothers. I was the third, and then a younger sister, 5 years younger. Yeah.
Okay. And did they share the love of music too, or was it just you and your brother?
We all love music because we all grew up
Mhm.
playing instruments. Pretty intense parents. God
Okay.
bless them.
Okay.
Like, but I started the youngest, so I'm not sure why. Uh, my oldest brother started like when he was like 4 or 5. Ethan, my second oldest, started when he was like around that age, also 5, 6. And I started at like 2 and change. And my mother says, because I looked up to my oldest brother and I said, I want to do that. So she's like, oh, sure, here we go.
Oh,
And I remember
yeah.
distinctly going to like private lessons at the age of like 3. Um, yeah, I remember being there and just weekly lessons. And then my sister started like also a little later. So I don't know why it was me.
Interesting. Wow, you got the earliest introduction.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that I'm the better of the 4. I mean, now just because I've been doing
No.
it every day professionally, sure, but I would say that I was probably the least talented of all 3 of them. They all could have been
Mm.
professionals. They all won awards and like NISFA competitions, stuff like that. But it was discouraged in
Oh,
my
wow.
family to make it a career. It was more like a resume, mind developmental building type of experience. But when I made it a career, my parents were very skeptical, very concerned, and I get it. I don't blame them. But it was just like it found me, as my wife
Mhm.
says. So it found me, and here I am.
Yeah.
I tried to leave it, and then it came back, and yeah,
It keeps calling you back.
yeah, yeah. Well, It's here to stay.
Yeah. Well, I just think that, like, my children did not end up being, like, big sports kids, and I remember being super disappointed because I thought I would always be on the sidelines, like, cheering for my children, and then my one son is really good at archery, and I was like, "Hmm, okay, that's fine," and then I was the more I thought about it, I'm like, that's like a lifelong skill that goes with you, whereas, like, playing football, that's fine, but you can only do it for, so long, and ballet and being on the dance team and the cheer team and all those things, they expire at some point. Whereas music can stay with you your entire life. That's a lifelong skill. Archery can stay with you. It's a lifelong skill. Like you could go out with your children and do that. And that's something your wife would let you go do. Whereas if I told my husband I was going to go cheerleading, I think he would be like, really? Tiff, are you okay? So there's something to be said for a lifelong skill that your parents gave you, or
Yeah.
exposed you to.
Well, I'm definitely grateful.
Yeah.
It was a rough period of time, learning etudes. I don't think I enjoyed it, but I am grateful in retrospect because it gave me the skills to rise in a career that would otherwise be pretty much impossible.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Way to go, mom and dad. Hey, Podcast Land. Wouldn't it be great if you could save time by being able to reply to text, email, and social media messaging all from one place instead of switching between apps? Or better yet, the system replies for you? I didn't know it existed until I started using Follow Up Speed. I'm going to tell you a little bit more, but first, pen and paper. Go grab them. It's okay. I'll wait. Okay, now text details to 904 560 5597. Don't worry, it'll be in the show notes. But don't you wish remembering to follow up was just a little bit easier? With Follow Up Speed, you can set an automation and forget about it. The system does the rest of the work. Before you know it, leads will be in your inbox from the system doing your following up for you. You can also earmark contacts as they enter the system with tags, making it easier to find them later, like watched webinar, or attended Zoom call, or met at chamber. Follow Up Speed can do all of that. I know it's hard to wrap your brain around, but it's this detailed system that acts like a CRM, project management, and your all-around hub for all communication, including but not limited to following up. Just text details to 904 560 5597 and see it in action for yourself. Now, back to the show.
You look at a guy like Paul McCartney. I don't know. I think they were all classically trained. Is that right? Except for the drummer.
Ooh, I don't know.
Because they actually, I mean, they have some pretty impressive chord changes and chord progressions that just ordinary musicians just jamming around couldn't really figure out. Um,
Mm.
but I don't know. But they also grew up in poor neighborhoods, from what I understand. So I don't know if Paul like picked it up and learned classical himself. Anyway, interesting people and musicians with real
Mhm.
talent, with real
Mhm.
skill.
Yeah. I didn't realize a lot of their music was the Beatles that I actually do enjoy. And so I've had my eyes really opened fairly from the podcast about a lot of music from the Beatles. So I guess I just didn't realize that. But yeah, they are very talented and some of the things, some of their creations, some of their music is like they were the first ones to do it. So, pioneering new techniques.
Yeah, definitely pioneers.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this a song that you would put on a playlist, or is there a specific time? Is this like summer with the windows down? You're like, oh man, I got to put this song on. Or is it one that just kind of catches you on the radio and you just turn it up?
I guess all of the above. It's a little different
Hmm.
for me than it is the average person because I don't listen to music as much just for fun. I listen to it
Okay.
critically. Like when I'm watching a movie, like I produce symphonies. So
Okay.
when I'm watching a movie, I'm like following the storyline and
Hmm.
listening carefully to each note in the symphony. So it's not always very relaxing for me. It can actually be exhausting at points. So I try to think critically, or I beat by default, I think critically about the music that I play.
That makes me feel better because when I listen to people like on Facebook Lives and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'd edit out that. Oh, they're going to have a terrible time with that sound. Oh, well, that's not gonna go well. Like, the whole time I'm editing whatever they're saying to each other, you
Mm.
know? So, I appreciate that you're critical because I feel the same way, but I'm like, that's just me being critical. That's not normal people. So, it must be a occupational hazard for us.
Yeah, it is, and I want to take what your concern a step further because kind of reiterating what I was saying before the podcast started. When I play a live event, people not noticing the difference in quality of tone, like when something is properly mixed, properly EQ'd, and they're just sort of like listening to like the beat and like associating that with the music being awesome, irritates the hell out of me. So that really bothers me as like a studio guy who spends my life thinking about how to make
Yeah,
music as pleasant
yeah,
to the ears as
yeah.
possible.
Yes, you feel my pain.
I do.
So, did your brother ever give you a cassette or did he make you a mix cassette with this song on it?
Um, that's funny that you mentioned. I didn't really think about that until you brought it up, and I do remember going on like a trip, couple trips. Like I went on a trip to I had a Walkman.
Yeah, heck
uh,
yeah. Cutting edge technology right there.
yeah, we should go back to Walkman. I mean, there's like digital EQ equipment that simulates the tape because people prefer the tape sound over like the MP3 streaming, which is it's kind of funny. Anyway, I used to think like, I don't want to hear the entire album of Live, or the entire album of like Led Zeppelin or you name it, Billy Joel. I want like select songs, and I want to put it into kind of like rip it into like a recorded tape. So yeah, I actually had my brother do that a number of times, help me out with that because I had to consolidate my tapes into like 3 tapes. I wanted to bring my whole album with me over the summer while I visited my grandparents with him, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to be able to play over my favorite songs. So that's what I did,
Yeah,
and those are the good old
awesome.
days.
Yeah. I know mixtapes, oh my gosh.
Now we have access to the world.
I know, right? Good and scary. Well, when you used to get a cassette or a CD new, would you and, you got the leaflet, were you excited to check out the lyrics, which I'm kind of guessing no, but maybe that's something that's changed into your adult life, or were you just excited to check out the music and the words kinda came later?
The words came later, but I always wanted to hear what the hell the singer was actually saying because usually I couldn't understand it, and I think they do that on purpose because there's just something artistic about saying words that sound like gibberish. It sound like a
Or,
different
like,
language.
emphasizing a different syllable so that it sounds like another word almost, but it's really not a different word.
Yeah, or maybe it's just the drug factor. I have no idea.
Well, is there anything more that you wanna say about this song for my listeners?
If you haven't heard it, go check it out. Paul McCartney is paying me 50%
Yeah.
commission for each person that does click the link. um, it's a beautiful song. No, but "Live and Let Die" is it's a classic song. I hope, truly, truly hope that more music like "Live and Let Die" emerge in some variation.
Mm.
It's got a lot of authenticity. It's got meaning. The words are just super cool, and it's something that appeals to like a wide range of ages and backgrounds. And I just think that more music like that needs to come back to the forefront and kick the rest of them to the curb. So I hope I'm able to shed some spotlight on something like this to bring it back.
Yeah, okay, cool, I like that. Well, very well said, thank you so much for your time today, I appreciate it very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. They didn't hear my hands going to clasping together. Uh, Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time. Great chat.
Of course, I hope that everybody listening had a good time listening to, Ashley remembering the good old days, but also how he was introduced to it and appreciating the words, but even more so the complexity of the music. If you guys have not heard it, it will be on the playlist on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. But definitely lots of opportunity with Asher as well. And so there will be show note links in the show notes for connecting with Asher, as well as checking out some of his good tunes on Spotify. So, Podcast Land, I hope that you enjoyed this episode and enjoyed Asher's memories to this beat. podcast land, thank you so much for listening. If you had a few memories of your own pop up with this episode, make sure to take a screenshot, tag me on social, Tiffany Mason or Virtually You, and share those memories. I know y'all are listening, and I'd love to hear the memories you were reminded of with this song. Also, would you do me a favor and share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it? This is the best way you can help me to grow my audience. Can't wait to dive into my next guest's memories with a beat. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next episode.